All right, so in today's lesson, we're going to talk about how to graph or how to find the vertex of a parabola. Now, in the previous section from 10.1, where we just had y equals something x squared, the vertex was always at 0, 0 at the origin. When we mixed in something x squared plus or minus your whole number, then that either shifted the graph up or down on the y-axis. So now we're going to go into trinomials where we have the ax squared plus bx plus c and talk about how to find the vertex in this kind of equation. Because when we get into graphing, if you're not using a graphic calculator, you need to show your work on how to graph. We have to start with the first step, which is finding the vertex. So the first thing we need to be able to do is find the axis of symmetry. So we're going to use this equation right here. X equals negative b divided by 2 times a. All right, so this equation will give us the x coordinate of the vertex. It'll also be, if we draw a vertical line that goes through it, will be the axis of symmetry. Now we need to be able to identify b and a, whatever numbers to use in this equation. And remember, this negative is going to stay there. So going back to substitution, we are always going to substitute our numbers in parentheses and then type them in the calculator how you see it. So in this form, we're looking for whatever this number is and whatever this number is, so we can plug it into this equation. So if we look down here, it says find the x value of the vertex in the following equation. So we need to identify a and b. So in this case, my a equals, and that's this number right here, negative 3, and my b is going to be positive 6. So now I'm going to use this equation, x equals negative b over 2a, to figure out what my x value of the vertex is, or my axis of symmetry. So I have negative, and then in parentheses, I'm going to put my b, which in this case is 6, over 2 times negative 3. All right, so now you can plug this right into your calculator. I'd like to simplify the top first and then the bottom. This would become negative 6 over negative 6, which then equals 1. So in this case, my x equals 1. So that's the first step of doing that, and that's what we're going to practice to start. So we're using this formula. Over in problem 2, we have to identify our a and our b. So our a, in this case, equals 1. Remember, if there's nothing there, you assume it's a 1. And our b equals a positive 4. So we use our formula again, negative b, so negative, and then in parentheses I put the 4. I always put these in parentheses because if my b was negative, you would see that it would turn out to be a positive when you type it into your calculator. On the bottom, we have 2 times a, which is 1. So this becomes negative 4 over 2, which is just negative 2. Okay, so that is how you will start these problems when we have a trinomial and they're asking you to find the vertex or find the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is just the x value, so the vertex, we need a y value because it's an ordered pair, and that's how we continue down here. All right, so after we find our x value, we then take that number and plug it into our equation, which will give us our y value. So it's your input-output relationship there. All right, so we are going to substitute 1 in for all these and then just put it into a calculator. So negative 3, parentheses 1, squared, plus 6 times 1, plus 5. So we can go ahead and type that into a calculator. I have this calculator set up so you can use that one. So we have negative 3, parentheses 1, times 1, and that was squared. I'm going to flip back here so I can see. So then plus 6 times 1 plus 5. So plus 6, parentheses 1, and then plus 5. So that gives us 8 as our answer. So as we go back through, we have y equals 8, and our vertex would be, when we put it in an ordered pair, 1 comma 8 would be our vertex for that problem. Over here, we need to substitute the negative 2 in for each of the x's, so we have parentheses negative 2 squared plus 4 parentheses negative 2, and then we have plus 3. So I'm going to go back through. What I'll do is I'll use both of these up here. So now I'm going to plug in this into my equation. So this is the easiest way. Again, make sure you're using parentheses for everything that you substitute in. So parentheses, oops, let's clear this out. So parentheses negative 2, and then that's going to be squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 3, and that gives us negative 1 as our answer. So y in this case equals negative 1. So my ordered pair for that vertex would be negative 2 comma negative 1. That's how I would display my answer. All right. Let's do one more problem just to practice. So again, you are going to find the vertex of this problem. We're going to use negative b over 2a to start our problem. So the first thing is to identify your a and your b. In this case, my a is 1. My b equals negative 8. So now I can plug this in. I have negative, and then in parentheses, my b is negative 8 over 2 times my a, which is 1, which we know is 2, but I'm just showing you the process on how we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up that calculator again. Here's how we can do it on this calculator. So I can go right over here. This way I can type in the numerator. So I have negative, and then parentheses, negative 8. And on the bottom, I have 2 times 1, which is just 2, but I'll put it all in. There's 1. And you can see it already gives us the answer as 4. Order of operations, negative negative 8 is positive 8 divided by 2. That's how we get the 4. All right, so we are going to write down this equals 4, which is our x value of the vertex. X equals 4. So now we have to figure out our y. We're going to plug this 4 into those x's. So now I have y equals 4. I'm going to keep it in parentheses just to stay consistent. 4 minus 8 times 4 minus 9. All right, so I will bring up my calculator again. Now I'm going to plug this in. Just type it in exactly as you see it. So parentheses 4 squared minus 8 times 4 minus 9. And that gives us negative 25 as our y value. All right, so y equals negative 25. So as my ordered pair, the way that I would write these, I would say 4 comma negative 25. All right, so pretty straightforward once you can identify your b and your a, and you're using this, your x equals negative b over 2a to find that x value of the vertex. Just be careful when you're substituting numbers, especially like in this example where we had that negative 8 and this negative is part of the equation, that you put everything that you substitute in parentheses. That way you're not leaving out a negative there and you're actually doing the process correct.